Welcome back. About a week ago, when I first looked at my chess.com insights page and set it to look only at rapid games, I noticed something interesting. You'll see the screenshot here where it says results by day of the week. And I noticed that on certain days I won a much higher percentage of the games than on other days. Some days I lost a higher percentage of games than other days. And I decided to do a little scientific test, and I'll tell you what I found. Okay, the first thing that I found were the actual percentages of the wins on those days, and I've added them to the screenshot here. Sunday I was winning a startling 77% of my games. Only 53% on Monday, which is still decent, but on Tuesday and Wednesday, 42 and 34%. Then Thursday, for some reason, I'm winning 60% of my games. And Saturday, 58% of my games, but on Friday, only 46%. Now, what I had been doing in the past was alternating days between the two sites where I play rapid games. I had just every other day, one day play on chess.com and the next day play on Lichess. After seeing this statistic, I decided to change that pattern of every other day and just play on chess.com on the days that I was doing really well and play only on Lichess on the days that I was doing poorly, just as an experiment, but also because I care a little bit more about the rapid rating on chess.com. And so here's what we did. I've added abbreviations for the two sites to the screenshot that you see on your page. So you see that I decided for the coming week on Sunday, Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, I would play on chess.com. And then on the 3 days where my losing percentage was very low, I would only play on Lichess, represented by the L's. And what happened was this. Hopefully my little numbers make sense to you, but on Sunday I won on chess.com. On Monday I won, as I was expected to, because on those days I, for some reason, performed better. Or maybe it's that other people perform worse. I don't know. On Tuesday and Wednesday on Lichess, I lost those games, as expected, due to the statistical graph. Then Thursday switched back to chess.com and I won. Now Friday I won on Lichess. That's why that circle's in a different color, to show that it didn't fit the pattern. But that was good for me. And then on Saturday I won on chess.com. So 6 of the 7 days of my very short scientific experiment fit the pattern of the insights page, which I still find very interesting. And what it means is, of course, that on those 4 days that I played on chess.com, because I won on all 4 of those days, my percentage increased. So Sunday's winning percentage is now 78.1%. And I think Monday's bumped up to 55%, and so on. Why don't we take a look at that one game that didn't fit the pattern? This was the game I played on Lichess on Friday night. And here we're at move 26. And I will just go ahead and bring up the engine. Stockfish says that we're very close to even after 26 moves. My opponent has just played an inaccuracy after having a very slight advantage and given me a very slight advantage. And from here till the end of the game, we blundered, both of us, on almost every move, which boggles my mind. Here I did consider this move, which is what the Stockfish says is my best move. I actually did consider it because my knight here on e4 protects that square, and that would attack the queen. But it just says the queen would move away, and that's why I didn't do it. It would still be threatening this pawn, which I assume is why they moved over there. Perhaps to threaten the pawn and put more pressure on these rooks. But I thought, if I moved my bishop here, which is what Stockfish suggests, the queen can just take the pawn, which is probably why it moved over there in the first place. And then I don't know what would my bishop be doing here on c3. I'm not sure. But while I was looking at that, I saw that the bishop not only could go here, it can also go to b2, which is lined up with their king, and I have a rook that can go to that spot. So that's what I played, was rook to b2, which turns out to be a huge blunder and gives my opponent a huge advantage, if they'll take the rook. I didn't think they would take, because they want their rooks in order to win this endgame here. I have my king has been somewhat weakened despite this little pawn chain, my king is being guarded by my queen at the moment, which isn't really the queen's best place on the board most of the time. I assume they wanted their rooks left around in order to somehow work their way down here and attack my king, especially after they took my a6 pawn. So I didn't think they would take the rook. I thought they would move the king. And I assume, it looks like my opponent decided the same thing. They didn't want to do a rook trade here, although that would have worked out better for them. What they played instead was what I thought they might do. Actually, I thought they would move their king to one of these spots, which is kind of what I mean, honestly, that would have been the best spot I could have hoped for, because I would have checked here, and then I thought, want a rook maybe? I don't know. But what they did was go to king to h3, which turns out to be a blunder, giving me a huge advantage. But it's only a huge advantage if I put my queen over here. Queen to b7, which in hindsight looks like a great idea. It protects this rook with a piece besides just the bishop. And also, I could possibly win both of these rooks here. But what I played instead was the move I was probably going to play anyway. And that was a huge blunder, giving my opponent the advantage back. They made the best move, which is putting the king back here. But I didn't. I mean, I'm attacking their king. They can't do anything to me right now as long as I'm putting them in check. And so I continued to do that. And in this case, this did turn out to be my best move, was a discovered check here. And again, their best move is just to take this rook. Now, if they did, I would have taken with the bishop, and then they would have taken this pawn, and they would have been up just a little bit. But instead, they moved their king again, which is a blunder, gives me the advantage back. But again, it's only a blunder. My only way to take advantage of the blunder is to put my queen back here on b7, which again, looks like a good idea. I just didn't see it at the time. I'm seeing a bunch of knights pointed down here at my king, and possibly a queen infiltration at some point. So I wasn't thinking about moving my queen away from that general vicinity. So I didn't play that move. What I did, well, and you can see above me, Stockfish's recommendation for my second best move is just to take this rook, and we might end up in a draw. But instead, my knight's guarding this pawn, so I just took that. Now I've got a rook over here preventing this king from moving at all. That king is stuck back there. And here, their best move is just to take this pawn, or push this pawn, or move their rook. Probably there are other moves that aren't even listed here that keep us in a relatively drawn position. But they didn't do any of those things. They decided that they're not in check now, and they should probably start attacking my king. So they went in there with the knight, taking my bishop, which my bishop's not even needed anymore. Remember, my bishop was guarding that spot where the rook was, but the rook's gone now. So just take that, right? It turns out that if I take it with the queen, I have a huge advantage. And I still have a pretty big advantage if I don't take it at all and just put the queen on f6. -5 if I don't even take it. Well, I thought... Actually, I don't even remember what I thought here. I took it with my king. Which does allow this, because the pawn still protects that square. So that's probably why I shouldn't have taken with my king, because that allows a check. But if my queen were there, it would be an attack on my queen, but I guess I could have put my queen somewhere else at that point. Their best move here is actually just to take this pawn, but instead they checked with the knight, which takes us back to 0-0. That wasn't a blunder, but my next move was. That was a blunder. At least Stockfish's initial game review on Lichess counted that as a blunder, but now it looks like I just gave them a +1 advantage from 0, so that's more like a mistake, I think, by most ways of counting. Regardless, what I should have done was that was my second best move, by the way, according to the engine. It says coming down here to h8. Actually, that would have gotten us to a drawn position. We still would have been at zeros if I had just moved back to the corner. And I'm not sure exactly why that's very much better. Maybe I will figure it out someday. And it says going to g8 would have been a much bigger blunder than what I did. So of the three choices, I had two okay ones and one really bad one. And I picked the one that wasn't the best, but it wasn't that bad. Again, Lichess counted it as a blunder. And here, my opponent should have just taken this pawn. They've been sitting there, able to take this pawn for quite some time. But they were worried about their king, apparently. And they did that. That's a huge blunder, yes. I don't know if they were coming back to guard this pawn. I don't know if they thought they were looking at a discovered check here and thought about pushing this pawn at some point. I don't know what it might have been, a misclick, mouse slip, whatever you call it, and they might have intended to come all the way back here to help protect their back rank. I am really not sure what their reasoning was, but that looks like the best reasoning for that move. I'm not sure why they didn't take this pawn, which would have aimed at this unprotected pawn here and given them a passed pawn on the d-file. But that's what they played, and I immediately took it, and they resigned. So that move is a little bit mysterious to me, but that's what threw off the pattern of the chart that we were looking at, which is here, where Friday was the only day that didn't fit the pattern. Now, this test told me that the pattern was relatively reliable, but I still don't know why. My test did not explain to me why. So I am going to continue checking this out and see what happens in the future. And again, I don't know if I just play better on certain days of the week, or if I play worse on other days, or if my opponents are playing better or worse on other days, certain days, or both, maybe. Sunday is the one with my greatest winning percentage. I did take into account many people, especially in the United States, watch a lot of sports on Sundays. Also, kids are off school. Maybe they're playing the last few games of chess on their phones before they go back to school the next morning, although that wouldn't matter now during summer vacation. Maybe if they have summer camps or who knows what else. I do know it's, the last day of the weekend for many people, so that might have something to do with it. I'm not sure how to account for the other nights, but maybe we'll figure it out. If you have any suggestions or ideas as to why that might be, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.